Special beam cannon!
Okay people, welcome back to another Fwoosh review. Tonight I'm taking a look at the Bandai figurized standard Dragon Ball Z Piccolo. Now this is the one I've been waiting for. Everybody knows, and I've explained it before and I still catch shit for it. I'm not a super fan of Dragon Ball. I've only seen a certain amount of episodes. I think I'm up to the Cell Saga. I've watched just a little bit of Super. I'm a fan of the characters. I'm a fan of the series. I just haven't sat down and watched anything outside of that, you know? But I dig Piccolo. And getting this in the model kit line, it's something different from the human characters. Well, except for Cell and Frieza and the ships that come in this line. Shut up! Looking at the box, it's pretty much the standard thing we get with every model kit. Pretty picture on the front, pictures of the model. On the side, a lot of promotional shots of the model itself, charging up beam cannon, and then it's showing the extra hair for Gohan. I like it when they add stuff to the other model kits. I know it's a gimmick of, you know, hey, you have to buy this if you want to get this for this other thing that you already bought, but it's nice to have extra stuff. On the end, a picture of the model kit Piccolo with his arms crossed. I have a feeling that I may want... well, I don't know. I think they could have done that a different way, but we'll see. On the other side, pictures of Piccolo from the series. Underneath, another picture of the model, a bio for Piccolo. Just warnings, labels, read the instructions, and then the pretty picture on the other end again. Getting into the box, it's going to be sprues in bags. That's what we're looking at. Got the effect, got the purple pants, have his weighted collar and turban and cape. A bunch of skin parts, red, pink. Gohan's hair, I love how many separate pieces one hairstyle can be. More skin parts for Piccolo, red, pink, green. More pants parts. A fairly large catalog of other stuff. I don't think I've opened anything that's had a big catalog in a while. So nostalgic, makes me think of childhood. And it's crazy looking at all the model kits lined up like that. There's been more than I thought. And then there's the instructions. Not a big deal here. I don't foresee any difficulties. But as usual, I'm going to build this. I'm not going to film the whole thing as I'm building. If I run into any snags, I'll film that. And hopefully I'll be able to fix those snags. And if not, then I'll post this and you won't even see the model kit. But I'm going to get the model kit together, and at the end we'll review the figure. Alright, getting the head together, not that hard. It took me a minute to realize where they were going with this, being, you know, a bald head, a lot of smooth parts. You can kind of see the seam line. It's not that well hidden. My big worry is the antenna. They're small, they're kind of fragile, kind of thin, and you do have the face changing gimmick here that you gotta kind of, well, that didn't work. I have a feeling that I'll have to pull the head off every time in order to change out the faces, because you have to get kind of behind it. Actually, I go to pull the face off and the eyes came off with the back of the head because that's where it attaches. But you can put the screaming face on, and that's one of, what, 3 decals? I'm good with 3 decals. I'm used to Star Wars kind of having them all over the place. The Dragon Ball stuff, I'm completely fine with 2 or 3. Let's try to pull this face off. Well, that one comes right off. But I'm liking that. Looks pretty good. Getting the torso together, I feel like the lower torso doesn't want to line up very well. Looks like he's jutting way, way back in the neutral position here. Now, it has a forward hinge, and I gotta kind of, to make it look right. I don't have the figure together yet. I know. But in order for it to look natural, it needs to be set forward a little bit. Also, I noticed with the neck, that sinks all the way in. To get full use of that, it's got to come out a little bit, which when you move it, it just comes out. But I don't know. Do you set it back down? Does it stay out like this? It's not really noticeable with the head on. It's not that big a deal. It's just an odd thing, I guess. Okay, for all the shit I gave the head and maybe the torso, the arm is genius. All these different colors are different pieces. There's a red plate that pegs to the green, and then the pink cap part kind of goes on top of that. It reminds me of Cell. Cell has those darker spots on them, and it was a completely different piece underneath the skin piece. And that's kind of how this is here. The bicep is a separate piece. In fact, the shoulder bolt is actually attached to the bicep, not the back of the arm. And then the forearm itself is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces pegged on there. Also, the elbow is interesting because it looks like a single joint. You come up and it slides down a track to make it come down further. But when you straighten it out, you can see It adds length to it. You can see the slide right there. Also, I don't know how easy this is to see, but right here, there's an extra piece that you don't want to snip off. It looks like it's the little piece of plastic just attaching this part to the sprue, but there's actually extra pin right there. And that's actually pin to stick out and attach to the bicep. I nearly snipped it off myself, so I just throwing that out there. I don't want anybody to, oh shit, I just messed up the arm on mine. Okay, working on the left arm, like I said, red piece that goes under the pink, the color separation, just, I love it. But there's two little slight indents right here that go into this hole right here. That's to keep the red piece from sliding around. Even though it has a rectangle peg, it doesn't really lock on except for that. What really locks it on is the pink part that goes on top. And I just can't praise it enough. It just looks so great on its own. No paint, no extra work. It's just, yeah, so stupid. You notice anything different between these two arms? Like I always say, go slow, pay attention to the instructions, look at what you're doing, and then I don't even follow my own advice. I'm like, I gotta get Piccolo together, woo! This right here, stuck it in upside down. Did it right the second time. I even put this into the body a minute ago and thought, man, that's awful gappy and low. What's the deal with that? I gotta remember to bitch about that during the review part. But no, just my own dumbass putting stuff in upside down. Put it right. The shoulder goes up to the top right there. It fills in everything nicely. Yeah. So I'm going to have to take this one back apart and flip that over. Yay! It's interesting. In the instructions, you put the bicep on first, and then you take the back of the arm and put it on. And I thought, that's kind of a roundabout way to do it. But then I realized taking this back apart, fixing my own screw up, and then putting it back together. Yes, this seems loose. And I thought, oh, well, I did something here. I didn't put it back together right or something because this is just slidey. But when you put the back of the arm on there, it actually locks the bicep to the shoulder piece. It doesn't come out. It's kind of genius, actually, now that I think about it. It keeps getting better and better. And now when I pop that in, oh yeah, that's much better than what I had a minute ago. Much tougher looking. I wonder why there's extra pegs in the peg right there. It's a peg with pegs. Extra peg holes in it. It's just an odd thing. It's not like it turns. It has another peg here and here to keep it from twisting, but it's actually just knee joint goes together. Not a lot of problem with the legs. In fact, I think some of this may be reuse. I haven't compared yet, but you can see extra stuff in the sprues like these. I think those are Goku's shoe lace ties up at the top or something. And then you get some purple shoe soles right there. Here, I don't know what that is. Well, they can't be reused because you have the Piccolo specific lower leg right here sticking out. And with that, it's a decal in order to make it look Piccolo-ish. And I usually hate this. There's actual sculpt there with grooves and lines and stuff, and you put the decal over that. But I was able to kind of get it down into the grooves and make it look okay. With that being up, you just barely see it. So the color sticks out at you, but it's not big enough to go, oh, that's kind of flat right there. Okay, remember earlier when I was grappling about the mid-torso piece? It's in there. It wouldn't line up. It looked gappy and stuff. I also went to attach it to the waist, and it wouldn't go because the socket wouldn't reach down to the ball on the waist. And I thought, I forgot a piece again. I'm a moron. I'm skipping around. But if you look here, if you take this piece out, it's got two tabs right here on the sides. And you can slip that in here, but you're actually supposed to slip it in down. Why put these extra slots right here if you're not meant to put this piece higher? But nope, you come down lower, put it in there, put that back together, put that back in the torso, which looks so much better now when you crunch forward or actually have it in a neutral position. And then that actually reaches the ball. So a lot of genius stuff done here, but to make it completely childproof for people like me, yeah, those extra slots shouldn't have been there. And there we go, all built. And I have to say, this may be my favorite Dragon Ball Z model kit so far. Looking at the sculpt, most of the clothing is reuse. The wrinkles, the folds, the lay of it pretty much all matches Goku in his different forms. But parts have been modified to fit Piccolo, like at the bottom of the legs. And then that, along with the belt, adds a little bit of height to it. But then there's the Piccolo parts, and if you watched the screw up during the build, you you saw how much I gushed over the Piccolo parts. The reds, the pinks, the greens all being separate parts, but sculpted nicely to get across that look for it. Oh man, I cannot say enough good things about it. And then get up to the head. I'm going to get into some gripes here in a minute, but for what it's supposed to be, Piccolo's head, I like the sculpt here. Now, you may want to add a little bit of paint to bring out the mouth, the nose, because it kind of gets lost in the sculpt, in the color of it. But with the antenna, the ears, and I love how the eyes are put together, just like his arms. Each different color is a different piece. It all goes together. It's not seamless. It's a model kit, you know what I mean? But it just looks fantastic. But the seam lines do kind of jump out at you here. It doesn't fit together perfectly, and I kind of wondered, well, why didn't they just make this the same piece as this and all that? But that comes into play later when you get to the turban and the big cape. And I kind of wish there was different options there or some extra pieces, but you take what you get, I guess. Like I talked about during the build, the beautiful, beautiful elbows extend so you can get more range of movement there. But it's one of those things you have to remember to put back in place when you straighten it back out. If you don't, you can bend it backwards, and that's just bad. I also got rowdy with it while I was taking pictures, and I kind of turned it sideways, and this actually snapped apart. I don't have that happen a lot with the model kits, so when it happened, I thought, ooh, no. But I pulled the wrist wrap off, I put it back together, stuck it back on. That's one of the good things about the model kit. And if something pops off, you just stick it back on. Now, a lot of people have a problem with the weight of these model kits, them not being action figures. You're used to a certain heft whenever you're playing with an action figure. With the models, it's hollow, it's lighter plastic, so you have to kind of get used to that. But in the long run, whenever you want action poses and you want to put them up on one leg or whatever you want to do, because of the weight, it's so easy to balance that it works out in its favor, especially with a line like this when they're all fighters, when they all do, you know, kung fu, martial arts, powers flying around. It just works out beautifully being able to balance at the drop of a hat. Now, going over articulation, there is a dumbbell joint in the neck, so you get down, up, tilt, tilt, swivel, and then the bottom of the neck is on a hinge too, so you can push that forward. He gets even more down there. There's all kinds of stuff going on in the shoulders. There's a butterfly joint in the actual torso, so you can bring that forward and out. Then the shoulder's mounted on a ball joint going into there, coming out to a hinge in the shoulder. So good range of movement all the way around, up that much. Then of course it swivels around. Swivel at the bicep. Shoulder goes up to about right there. The elbow goes up to about right here before the slide starts working. And then it comes up to about right there. Ball joint in the wrist, all around, swivel. There's a hinge forward in the torso, goes forward to there. Then it's a ball joint. You don't get a lot of tilt, but you get swivel out of that, and you also get swivel at the waist. It's also a ball joint going up into there, but it doesn't really act like a ball joint. It might as well just be a swivel. There's a peg coming out to the hip that works like a ball joint, and that also drops down so you get more range of movement. Forward, back, out, then you shove that back in and close the gap. Swivel at the thigh. Single knee, but the way they design these things is amazing. I love how it continues the pants look all the way around, even when it's bent. It doesn't come all the way up to kick his own ass, but plenty of range right there. And then there's a ball joint at the ankle. You get back, you get forward, you get tilt, and then swivel. For accessories, Piccolo comes with 2 fists, and then he comes with his beam cannon shooting hand, or charging up, whatever you want to use it for. It's easy enough to switch out. It's just a ball joint. You take that, ball, plug, go. And while we're talking about the beam cannon, here is that effect. It's nice, it's large, it's solid. I like the twirly around going up. It reminds me of candy of some kind. I can't remember when I was a kid there was something that looked like this. But this comes with the standard figurized stand. You can pop this off to adjust the height, pull it out, bring it down, plug it in. And then there's a hinge to adjust the angle of it too. It doesn't actually attach to the hand, it's just a cup. You just put it to where, you know, you want it. Piccolo also has some face options. He has his stoic look, and then he has his screaming look. And I've said in videos before, I don't really care for screaming heads, but in the case of Dragon Ball Z, that's what they look like half the time, if not more. And here, I really like this head. You can see the fangs on the inside. The decal for the tongue doesn't really stick out at you as a decal, and it went around the bottom fangs too. So no detail lost here. And to change that out, you just pop the head off, and you have to pull the front of the face off. The last few times I've changed it out, this piece that has the eyes and such in it, it's stuck to here. It's easy enough to just pull off and put on. And then you just put the screaming face on and pop that back on there. And then he comes with another face option that has the turban on it. And this is, it's not a huge problem, but I kind of wish it came with another ear part. That way you didn't have to switch this whole thing out. Don't get me wrong, it looks good, I like it, but... And with that, he also comes with a big-ass clunky cape. It's hard candy shell, it doesn't move, it's a model kit, what do you expect? But it does have a couple of points of articulation, but for the most part it gets in the way. You have to pull that whatever face you have on it. You're essentially looking for the socket and the ears, and the top of the head is a separate piece from those. You have to slide this back and off, and then with that he has another stoic head that doesn't have the antenna on it and such. And then you take the top of the head, the turban, and put it on. Now for the cape you do have these 2 points right here that get out of the way when you want to articulate the shoulders, but everything else is just covering. And you can see on the inside there's tab, 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 tab. That kind of snaps onto his gi right there. So it doesn't come off, but good lord, it just covers everything up here, and the cape actually sticks out, so it becomes back heavy. Remember when I said the weight works in its favor when you want to get into action poses? It works against it whenever you put something big and heavy on the back of it. And then you pop the head on, and then here, one of the iconic poses is crossing his arms in front of it when he has the cape and the turban and everything. And that's what they say the drop-down elbows are for, so you can get that extra range of movement to come out and across, like so, but... I don't know. I think I kind of like the figure arch route where they had a separate piece that had the folded arms and it just plugged on. Would have taken a little bit more plastic, but they wasted just as much plastic putting in Goku parts that you don't use here. Don't get me wrong, it's not bad. It looks okay, but I think I like Action Piccolo a little bit more. And then to take it back off, you kind of pull up and it pops off. And then finally there's an alternate hairpiece for the model kit Gohan. Now I can't tell you exactly where it appeared like this, I just like the style a little bit better. It breaks it up from the usual Super Saiyan straight up hair. Now essentially it's just the hair and the inside socket part. The actual face for Gohan and really the ears comes from the previous model kit. But like I said, I like this hairstyle better, and I kind of like the glowing yellow that they give this. A little bit translucent, but not really. But somebody suggested you could take the other Gohan face and then the hair from that model kit and put it on a Krillin, and you essentially get what he looked like when he fought Bojack. But I was kind of planning on getting another Krillin anyway because of the skin tone, so yeah, I may have to keep them like this. And then I end up with 2 Gohans. That's cool. For comparison, here is Piccolo with Goku. You can see that the gis are exactly the same except for the waist and at the ankle. And this is where Piccolo gains a little height on Goku. It's kind of lost in Goku's larger head size and then, of course, his hair. If you look at the shoulders, you can see Piccolo's taller. And then here's the comparison with Gohan and Vegeta thrown in. So at the end of the day, I'm happy to add this Piccolo to the display, and I'm happy to get more Gohan options. There's just something about Piccolo. He's kind of an asshole, but not as much of an asshole as Vegeta, but just enough to make you think, I'd like to hang out with that guy. But not so much, because he'd probably kick my ass at the end of the night. So to have that representation on the shelf, it makes me kind of giddy. Plus with the green skin, the pink, the red, it kind of throws in a different color palette to the overall display we have so far. Plus we get some matching clothing to the Gohan we've had for a while. So win-win all the way around. Plus it's fun as hell to build the model kits, even though I tend to, get ahead of myself and then screw up and then have to go back. So it takes twice as long for me to build the kit. But you sit down for an hour, hour and a half, and you're done. You have an awesome action figure. You get to check out the inner workings, the joints, how stuff looks like on the inside of, well, at least these action figures. I can't think of a better evening. What has my life become? Like I mentioned earlier, the weight of the figure itself may be off-putting at first, but after you mess with them for a while, it kind of goes away. Your brain starts to separate standard action figures from model kit action figures. They kind of like to split a little bit. You start seeing gaps in the seams, but I haven't had that problem with Piccolo yet. And then there's just the genius of locking the bicep on, or how they did the color separations. Yeah, I'm mentioning it again because it's that good. But in the long run, if you're a fan of Dragon Ball Z, if you dig putting model kits together, if you missed out on the SH Figure Arts line, get the model kit line. You can essentially get most of these kits except for Super Saiyan 4, Vegeta, and Goku. I think those have kind of raised in price a little bit. You can get most of them that's been released so far pretty easy. And then you get ships too. You get the Time Machine, you get the Saiyan Pod. They just announced Super Saiyan Vegito. I need to go out and get myself the Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Vegeta, and Goku. There's just so much stuff to get. Totally worth it for $25-30 bucks. Completely worth it. So if you like the review, comment, like, subscribe. I'll catch you on the Fwoosh.